Hey, I'm Don Jessop, and I want to address a couple of really helpful tips for you and your horse. Number one, treats. I use a lot of treats, and I'm going to be really short about this. It's okay to use treats even with a horse that asks for a lot of treats. Just time it so that they get the treat when they're chill and not when they're grabby. Because the important thing about treats is there's only a couple ways to reward your horse. Time off, relaxation, treats, and grooming or scratching. So giving them, and praise sometimes works too, but giving them treats is one of those things that's really, really useful. You can time it when they do something good, but specifically time it when their emotions are neutral and they're not frantic and grabbing. So when they are grabbing and looking and hunting for a treat, you can just tell them to back off because we don't want to reward that. Okay, second thing I wanted to address, the second thing I wanted to address is the whip. The second thing I wanted to address is the whip. A lot of people think that a whip is not okay to use. It is okay to use a whip. It's just how you use it and how you shouldn't use it that I want to demonstrate. A couple of important things. I use the whip for desensitization tool, primarily. It's about noise, it's about helping a horse relax to the motion and the sound so that you can ride them and some hunter in the woods makes a gunfire, and this can train them to be okay with that noise and that motion from the whip. What I don't do with this is chase a horse around with it. I will, however, show them the whip as an extension of my arm to reach certain body parts to encourage them to balance, perhaps, or move into a different gait, transition up or down. But it's not a chasing tool, it's not a punishment tool. That's really, really important to me. Third thing I want to address, real quick, for fun, is the rope and how I like to use the rope. Now, everybody's got something different to talk about here, but mostly I don't like hanging on to big bundles of ropes. When I'm working a horse on the ground, I'd prefer to chuck that and step over it than to fight with it. My biggest asset here working with a horse is the ability to shorten and lengthen effectively and efficiently so that I don't get tied up in a big bundle of ropes and my horse is losing the communication required for the balance. Last thing I want to address here on the ground is Red's transitions. We're going to help him go out, walk, trot, canter. I want to see how he's improved over the months that we've had him. Let's head out at a walk. And into a trot. And then back down to a walk. I love using my rope in that fashion. The rope goes up like we're going somewhere. Kind of like this. Check this out. I'm on my horse and I have my reins and I lift my rein and say, let's go somewhere. And then I pull back on my rein and that says slow down. So you can actually watch that in preparation on the ground, and it starts to make sense for the horse if my ground skills mirror the riding skills. So we're gonna lift to ask him to go up. A little support from my rope or my voice if I need it. We're going to lift to ask him to trot. And we're going to lower and drop the rein a little bit and pull on his nose a little bit to ask him to slow down. That's going to be really helpful for me. This is not a rule. You don't have to listen to me and think, oh, well, Don did it that way, so you have to do it that way, and that's the way you do it. The truth is, there's 1,000 ways to do anything. You did good. Now we're just going to take that and see if we can get that up into the walk, the trot, and the canter, and then back down through. There was a time not long ago with this horse where going into the canter was explosive. Now he's shifting to where he's kind of chill about everything. That's the kind of horse I want to ride. Here we go, up. And you can use vocal cues if you want to. Down, up. A little support with my other hand if I need to. And then up into the canter. And down, down, down into the walk. What we're seeing here is a lot of emotional regulation. Like he's regulated. He's not holding his gait. That's a different topic. We build balance and transitions, and then we build the endurance in. But he is showing a lot of emotional regulation. When before he would take the canter transition and bolt or buck, now he just floats in and floats out. And I'm not using the whip to encourage him. I can, and I may use the whip as encouragement or a little bit of extra pressure as encouragement, but not punishment, never as punishment. The ultimate goal would be that he responds to my hand signals, my body signals, my vocal signals, and not my other tools. He should be able to feel that hand go up and down and listen to that. He should be able to feel that halter touch his nose and direct him onto the circle. I should be able to lift this up into the canter, back down, down, down. Keep walking if you can, please. It's nice to walk after you canter. It helps with that emotional regulation. And then we'll take another little break. I want to highlight one more important thing about what we're doing here. It's really easy for trainers, especially if you're a novice or intermediate trainer, hey bud, to look at a product and think it's how it's supposed to be. This is a process we're showing, not a product. We want him to go up and down and stay emotionally regulated. I'm actually spinning with him in the circle, giving him plenty of rope, but I'm turning with him as he goes. That's not a rule. You can certainly stand your ground and ask your horse to go around you while you stand and face the camera here, but you don't have to do that. And I prefer in the process stage, not the product stage, to guide and help the horse's balance as he learns those transitions and emotional regulation. So I hope that helps you. Don't be too quick to assume there's only one way to do this. There's many ways. The important thing is how I regulate my emotions and how I help him regulate his emotions. And from that, oh bud, we can develop a rideable horse. Now, groundwork should be encouraging rideability, not endurance and fancy stuff. Not yet. First, let's just build that foundation. Okay. Next. You ready for this? We're gonna do one more thing, kind of separate, not really separate. We are gonna start to encourage his endurance. I'm gonna use the whip. You're gonna see how I use the whip. And then we'll have a little chat about what that means, because we get a lot of comments. Number one, why are you using a whip? Don't use a whip. And number two, why are you using the whip like that? I want to talk about that. If you give me a little grace here, I'll do that with you. So I'm going to ask Red to head out onto the circle again. And we have a goal this time for him to respond by going up into the canter off my hand signal. But then I want to hold that canter a little bit longer. There's 1,000 ways to do this. We can play all kinds of different games. You're going to see me use my whip in a specific manner to encourage more canter. So I reach out and I just show him the whip. I just show it to him. I don't actually chase him with it. I just show it to him. Here's where we get into the weeds. I want to give him a reward for that effort. Good job. A lot of people will say, why are you using the whip, holding it out there? That's inappropriate, perhaps. 2 reasons. Number 1, it's an extension of me. I can actually reach for him. Just like a horse has a long tail, now I have a long tail and I can reach for him. But number 2, I get a sense of how reactive he is. I'm going to be riding him. And I'm going to be moving this whip around while riding him. And cracking it and making noises. And if I'm on the ground and moving the whip around, and he's reactive to the whip itself, I want to know. So by reaching out here and showing him the whip, see, he's not going yet because even though the whip is going, I haven't sent any signals to him. I like that. The whip will help support my goal, and ultimately I can drop it and get the same results. But in training, in the process, I can use it for those 2 purposes. Number 1, encourage him, help him, guide him, help him balance. And number 2, I get a test. Just by showing him the whip, I get a test his reactivity levels for rideability. And if he's jumping away from the whip and flying away from the whip, well, I've got to do some more friendly desensitization. I've got to help remind him that it's just a piece of leather. It's just a piece of me reaching for him, trying to ask for things. And because my bonding is so heavily balanced, so heavily integrated into the training, he trusts me, likes me, wants to be with me, easy to catch, and he responds to the whip in an appropriate manner and not in a rushing manner. So one day I'll be able to ride him and crack this whip without him thinking that that means run from the whip. You ready, Red? Let's go the other way. There we go. Now in a finished product, he should be able to canter and carry the canter without any support from my whip. But in the process, I'm happy to show him, maybe even reach for him as an encouragement. Just kind of reach for him, reach for him, reach for him, and help him grow that endurance from a half circle to a full circle. You're so sweet. You're so sweet. All the way up. Always making sure that, kind of surprised him there, that he's not reactive to the whip itself. And horses can learn that nuance. They can learn that a tool is just a tool. It's friendly, it's a guidepost, and valuable all the way through our entire relationship. And one day I can use this tool for other purposes and he's not reactive to it. Good job. Good job, I'm proud of you. Given that he passes so well in all of those activities, we get to do one more kind of test today. He's come a long way, this horse. He's came from a early stage hyper reactivity. His muscles would vibrate with tension and suspense and what might happen to him if anything goes wrong. That was him when he showed up. Now, with him more regulated, emotionally regulated through all the work, the lunging up and down, transition, smooth, emotional regulation that way, all the desensitization with the whip or a plastic bag or a flag, all of that, he's now in a mental space where things just don't bother him so much. So there was a time where climbing up on him was mostly like undesirable. He was too jumpy, too quick, too tense. fact, he'd come up here and he would just lift his head up and freeze, and then his muscles would tighten and ratchet up, and he would get so anxious. But we spend a lot of time here bonding, and today's a cold day. Cold day. Very little warm up. He starts to give me green lights instead of red lights for riding. But I don't want you to just think about like riding. I just don't want that from you or from him. I don't want him to think, oh, we come out, we go for a ride. I want him to think, we stand by the mounting block, we bond, we scratch, we groom, we hang out, we look for those itchy spots, those favorite ones. We get back down, scratch him all over. I want riding to feel like him, like hanging out as a friend feels like on the ground. The same kind of quiet, peaceful mindset. Just not in a hurry to be anywhere, go anywhere, do anything. I want him to have this neutral sort of playful, not hypersensitive, curious, quiet mind related to riding. So we're just demonstrating up and down on the block, and I'm actually going to put my helmet on, and we'll do a tiny little bit of riding to see how he's improved with that too. All right, climb down. Good job, Red. Hey, my helmet's in the car, so give me 2 seconds. Okay, I've got my helmet on, and I wanted to show kind of an update on Red, how he's doing. You can kind of see how he's always kept his curiosity. He's willing to look around. Used to be that he would look around like this, and then it would actually cause him to like tighten up through here. He'd get really, really rigid. Like, uh-oh, something scary is happening back there. He's becoming more flexible, more curious, and generally just a lot more chill. Used to be you'd tap him like this, and his muscles would just ripple with energy because he was so tense and so worried about what's going on back there. Now, some of this is he's asking for a treat. I don't give him a treat every time he asks, of course. I prefer to give him treats when he's more chill, more relaxed. We do quite a bit at the mounting block where we just climb up here and we rub him and love him and help him understand that legs don't always mean go. You want to know something cool about horses? They're actually really capable of nuance. So leg pressure could mean a hug, like this. I love you. I love you. A hug. Just a hug. It could mean that. Leg pressure doesn't have to mean go, but it can mean go. And some people are worried, like if you hug your horse and he doesn't go, then he'll get really bad with your legs. Not quite. Horses are more complex than that, and they're capable of more complexity than that. So, teaching a horse to relax with motion and movement, it's all good. Hugging, that's all good. I don't want him jumping off my legs. Now, if I do want to go, and I need him to be sensitive to my leg, I just have what we'd call a supporting cue. So a squeeze with my legs, and my life and my energy says go. And if he's unresponsive to that, I'm just going to come around here so he can kind of see, you can kind of see. If he's unresponsive to my legs, squeezing him and asking him for things, And I can life up in my body, and I can have a little energy, maybe a little vocal cue to support. So there's signals, and then there's supporting signals. And if you've ever had a novice jump on your horse and they inadvertently kind of squeeze just to survive, you don't want your horse jumping away from that. But then you get up and you're more professional and you do want them to move when you ask. It's just a simple matter of having that life and that energy in your body, supporting your desire. And the horse can learn that nuance. They're very, very clever. Now, Red's come a long ways. It's just the way he carries himself. He's got that same quiet mind that we've developed in the lunging. Or ask him to transition from walk to trot and then back down to walk and canter down to trot, where he's keeping that emotional regulation. He's come a long ways. And to be able to carry me bareback and not really be in a hurry to go somewhere is a big, big deal. Naturally, if I'm going to take off and ride off into the sunset, I need to do a few pre-checks. Like I want to be able to test his brakes. So this is a brake test, pulling back on the reins, and he's responsive to that. He's actually backing off the reins. So that's going to help me if I get worried. I can just pull up on the reins. I would love to have a few steering checks, like I can pull him around and he'll follow my hand. He'll just happily follow my hand around. That's going to help me in my steering. Now I can add my leg or use my leg independently. We do in my classes, in all of my clinics and classes, we add and isolate aids. So hands and legs work in tandem and they work independently, but I want my horse to respond to all of those things. That's very cool. There's so many pieces to mastery. There's bonding and training all balanced and integrated together. There's nuance between a hug and a go signal and him learning that nuance. There's emotional regulation. There's independent aids, combining aids. We're working with the head, the shoulders, and the hips, and it all starts to pan out. We've even got footwork to think about, like which foot do I ask when it's on the ground to cue the canter. There's so many puzzle pieces, and we're going to show you all of them over time. But the most important thing is that Red has this great quiet mind relative to me being on his back, when it was completely the opposite when he showed up. He would tense up and worry when a rider would come up here. Now he's waiting and resting, and that's in the training, and you can do it too. Okay, Red, how you feeling? Certainly a colder day. I just posted this article today called "Can you ride your horse or can you read your horse?" Which is better, riding a horse or reading a horse? A really good rider won't fall off. A really good reader will assess the situation and see the potential pitfalls and try to avoid situations that would cause falling off. I'm watching around my surroundings, knowing that he's also watching around his surroundings. I am paying attention to his responsiveness, his emotional regulation. He's watching for cues. All of those things. There's so many pieces to the puzzle. I like that, Red. Good looking at you. Okay, just about to be done with him actually. Just do a little bit of trotting because we're here. I guess if I was going to ask you to ride bareback, which I can't ask you to ride bareback, I can tell you that riding bareback has a lot of value though. It teaches him to be more regulated because he has to carry you better. In a saddle, you can be kind of sloppy and not even know it. But bareback, if he's sloppy, you know it instantly. So there's this instantaneous feedback when you're riding bareback that tells you to slow down, be more precise. And that's beneficial for you and your horse to ride bareback. The second thing is you just gain better balance. So your balance and your timing gets better when you practice a lot of bareback riding. So if I'm going to ask him into the trot here, in the saddle, I might just like cue him and just say, let's do it, let's try it. Now a good rider is going to read the horse better than that and cue him at the right moment. Just so happens that riding bareback helps you in that endeavor. So I'm going to ask him not just to jump into the trot, but to sort of leak into the trot, like Heinz ketchup coming out of the bottle. Just a gradual, little, tiny step forward. And riding bareback kind of makes you ride that way because you don't want to be jumping. Your body will react to that. I'd rather him walk around. We'll look for the right moment. We'll slowly graduate to a faster walk. A little bit faster, 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 until finally he breaks into a trot. And just like when we were on the ground, he just floats back down, happy, happy, relaxed. Tell you what, when you're in the saddle, you miss a lot of what's going on underneath. When you're bareback, you feel every single muscle. So like I said, I can't tell you to ride bareback. You got to keep your own safety in mind. But it does have some benefits. Anyway, this is a little update on how JD's doing here, Red, how he's changing the way he thinks about a rider on his back and how to process the information that's given to him. And hopefully a little inspiration for you. Thanks for watching. I'm Don Jessop. See you soon.